I know even this is biophysics session, but many people still believe that, well, physics is important, the culture is important, society is important. That's a lot of it. So what I try to say is that a lot of our mind is determined by the physical world. For example, we see the light, but the spectrum of visible light is very, very narrow, and it is the spectrum of maximum energies and intensity from the sun. Okay, here. So it's the physical property of maximum energy that determines our vision. I'm going to give another example. There are 20 kinds of amino acids, but we only taste one. And this suggests that glutamate must be very, very important amino acid. And it is. All the bacteria, they emit 20 kinds of amino acids. They start from glutamate. And all humans, when we degenerate those proteins, they transform those other types of these amino acids into glutamate, and then they generate. And we know that glutamate plays very, very important role in other physiological processes. So you see that how we process information depends very, very much on the physical world. And we often say, in the study of psychology, we always say, oh, this kind of anomaly, that kind of anomaly. But when I develop a new economic theory, I solve for this problem, I find out those anomalies are what we would expect from economic theory. For example, we all do mortgage. When the interest rate is low, we tend to borrow a lot. And we tend to borrow long term. Right? Instead of 10 years, we do 20 years, 30 years. Right? They'll talk about interest rate. So you see, when one factor changes, the other factor also changes. And in psychology, there's a phenomenon called hyperbolic discounting. What is hyperbolic discounting? Because those experiments find when you talk about longer duration, the associated discount rate actually decline is often different from what we see in finance. And we say, okay, these are anomaly. But that's not anomaly, because long duration is associated, low discounting is associated with long duration, as we show in this borrowing processes. And another result I get from my theory is that, okay, in a high fixed cost system, people care more about discounting. Just like you pointed out earlier, when we build up capital, we borrow and borrow more. That is more and more. So again, these two factors are related. So we think, okay, these are irrational. Humans are irrational because you see this and that is so many anomalies, but they are not anomalies. So it's because our theories are not good enough. Just like there are a lot of physics, right? I mean, before we have this mechanics theory, calculus theory, when we say, oh, we see those movements of planets, they are anomalies. Why they are anomalies? Because those planets, they are imperfect. But after we have this quantum mechanics, we can explain all the results very easily. We say, oh, okay, not because the planets are imperfect. Probably our theories are imperfect. That's how we discover Neptune, right? Discover Neptune. Because when our theory cannot predict the phenomena, we say, oh, okay, there must have something wrong with our theory. We want to add something. not because the planets are imperfect. The same is true for a lot of human psychological factors. People will say, oh, that's your culture or something. But if we look further, we always find out these cultural factors are actually have this economic senses. And of course, because our mind evolved through both genetics and morphing, right? And our evolution process may lag behind the change of environment. And that's where social institutions come in. An example, why right now it is the government determined the education process. For example, it's mandatory 12-year education. Why it's not private? Because from our mind evolved from the past. There's no need for 12-year education or university or BPE because most of them die very young, right? So our mind value education, but not as much as 12 years or 20 years. So what the government do? Government forces us to take education, right? It's called free education or mandatory education. So it forces us. Otherwise, many people will not take this that many years. And that, of course, causes a lot of unhappiness among many students because we are forced to take education. And another pattern about the interest rate, the determination of interest rate. Again, we are from an old age, right? Our mind, even 700 years ago, we die very young. So in our mind, our interest rate or discount rate is very, very high. Very high. And in the high discount rate environment, we cannot borrow that much, right? We just said that. We cannot borrow that much. So how can we make us borrow a lot to lower the interest rate? But if it's just leave to the market, the interest rate will be very, very high, very, very high. So what the government do? The government impose an interest rate, a very, very low interest rate on us. And the advantage of that is that it can accumulate capital very easily due to huge projects. But then, of course, there's disadvantage. Disadvantage, the interest rate is low, we can speculate very easily. Right? The cost of speculation. So there's a lot of speculations. And so what is the pro and con? And this shift over time. And it is my argument that right now the interest rate is too low, the government involvement is too much. And because from my theory, all these aspects are connected together from a very simple, just single formula. So all this, for example, how much education we should have, maybe we should be more in tune to our mind as education. And what is the interest rate? Probably the government should intervene less and let our mind and market more. So the interest should be higher. It's not that we should push up the interest rate. If only the government intervene less, the interest rate will rise to reflect the true risk, reflect the true risk. So you see that when we say, oh, this behavior economics, mainly about irrational behavior of human mind, but I said, oh, it's simply because the theory is not good. But if you have better theory, we can understand all these human mind very, very easily. Now let's come back to the topic of the entropy theory of mind. So we said the theory I presented this morning explains a lot of human mind. But there's a long association about entropy and mind. Right? And we starting probably from Maxwell. He made a very, very fundamental observation. If the cost of information processing by mind is lower than the entropy, then the Maxwell demon can process information in a way that decrease the entropy of the whole universe. And he believed this second law is supreme. So it's impossible to decrease the entropy. So he concluded the information cost of anything must be higher than its value, highest value. That's his conclusion. And for over 100 years, many people only think it's a technical problem. But it is actually much, much more fundamental. So one result is the Shannon's information theory, right? Developed many years ago. And it's just, today we call it as information age. It simply transformed this all this technology, right? Because it has about the lowest, what is the lowest cost of information transmission. But unfortunately, Shannon himself regarded this information theory as a pure technique. But how is it so possible with a purely mathematical theory that coincides with the economy of information transmission? Because he has this idea, almost the standard followed, right? Everybody agree with it. Deviate only very, very slightly from it. Okay? But what I believe is it's not technical. It's not simply a mathematical reason. Because Shannon said, okay, it is simply because of mathematical theory that make this coincide with this entropy formula. Just like I think Charlie also said the same thing. We should de-emphasize entropy. I think entropy is the key to understand everything. Let me give you an example. Because our mind, in general, could not understand when we process information. In general, the cost is higher than benefit. So our mind has to be very, very selective. We can only process a small set of information that is relevant to us. This means everything we perceive is, in a sense, biased, because we only selectively process some information and neglect the majority. And so when we say accuse someone or it's biased, this one biased and that one biased, that just cannot hold, because everybody is biased. And when you accuse somebody biased, you just use your own standard, okay, to measure others. And not coincidentally, we can actually measure the value with entropy information and other functions derived from entropy. What are these other measures? One, free energy. From free energy, we can. There are a lot of technical problems arise from physics, and they're actually exactly matching in mental processes. We can use the same function and some generalized function to measure the value of the information. And you may say, what is the value of information? And that was the question raised by many people, and I think first answered by John Kelly in 1956 paper. It's called A New Interpretation of Information Rate. It's a very, very title looks very mundane, but it has a very, very revolutionary idea. It said that your information process determine your behavior and determine the return of investment. He said, what you have certain information about a certain stock, say holding certain stock, and that information determines how much you should invest in stock. This is the behavior, right? The behavior, and then it also determines the rate of return of your stock. So information, behavior, and the value, they are all connected. And in his chapter, he believed that, he stated that his idea can apply to all aspects of human behavior. And unfortunately, I mean, his paper was written exactly 60 years ago, and still, I think it's a very, very minority of people believe in that. And I think my work and a big part is to expand these ideas into a big whole theory. Okay, thank you very much.
That's great. So we have time for one question.
Jing, so my question is, so I've known your work since 2005 or 2000,
Thank
or
you.
since, but you're one of the few people who's made a connection between something that is a low entropy value and something like a work of art, you say, or athletic prowess, or wealth accumulation. Not many people make that connection. So, first part of my question is, how did you arrive at that view? And then the second part of my question is, I know that I've probably told you before that using information theory and entropy is frowned upon. So to cite one example, Dirk ter Haar in his 1954 Elements of Statistical Mechanics, he says entropy introduced in information theory is not a thermodynamic quantity. So I'm wondering, that was 5 years after Shannon published his work.
The second
So
one?
Dirk ter Haar in his Elements of Statistical Mechanics, 5 years after Shannon published his work, he said entropy used in information theory is not a thermodynamic quantity. So how do you make the connection, even though he says it's not thermodynamics, to say that has to do with the mind?
Well, I can only say my opinion is a minority, right? Other people, that's the majority of opinion, right? That's the majority. I think what I back my statement is the evidence, right? Evidence just explained by your first question. People, when people accumulate water culture, right? You raise like huge stones or huge palace or accumulate a lot of real stuff. They are all spend a lot of effort, right? Or low entropy, right?
Yeah, I agree with what you're saying, but I just wanted to know how you justify that. A lot of people say that information theory.
I think that's what the majority of other people say. That's true. That's true. But I think that if you have to look at evidence, right? Look at evidence.